All right. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? All right. So this is our third session, and I think this is third time is a charm. I think I got all the logistics figured out for how we're going to do this. And I think we're going to go ahead and stick with this platform. I'm able to easily share the desktop, any documents, and whatnot. And it's available on a platform where I'll be able to post the link, and hopefully I'll be able to save the YouTube video and be able to post it on other places so that if people don't have Facebook, they can go ahead and still view it or be able to join us. So thanks for everyone for coming out tonight. So really quickly here, I just wanted to show everybody that this is the YNS CG portal site. Okay, if anybody does not have access to this, shoot me a message and I'll show you how to get access and how to get to it. But there's a lot of good info here. Some just general information. One of the things that they like to do is post a spreadsheet, like a mini service-wide exam spreadsheet, and you can anonymously post your service-wide score and kind of get a rough estimate of the average and how many people took it. But probably some of the good info in here is in the documents library. When you go to service-wide study, there is a lot of computations pracs in here. Well, there's some EPME. I would be careful about this information, though. This might be some older information because this is more about history, where they have changed the pracs and they've gone more to about like today's standards and policy. But there is one thing that you can benefit from here is the computations link. And right in here, there is a lot of computation practices. Okay, so the other day I asked what you guys want to go over, and you said that you wanted to go over computations. So, well, reserves and computations. That was the two things that you wanted to go over. So first we're going to go over some reserve things, a couple of reserve pracs, and then we'll move on to reviewing computations. And I think computations might be a couple sessions because I think we should all go through all of the examples and go through all of the problems and make sure that we're all getting the same answer so that we know how to compute it. If there's anybody that has not taken the service-wide before or have not seen computations, well, if you haven't taken the service-wide before, then you wouldn't know what it's like. But it seems to be kind of random that sometimes there's tests of a page and a half, and other times there's just maybe just a handful or less. But I think they might be changing it up every year. But we'll go ahead and take a look at a couple of these attachments if there's time after the reserves and whatnot. You can lay down if you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at a couple reserve things. Go to sleep. Okay, let me just go ahead and just minimize that. Alright, so one of the things that you said that you guys wanted to go over was the trade pay codes. Okay? Okay, so there's a few different trade pack codes. There's A, B, C, D, F, and M, and they all stand for different things. This is another section that you should go ahead and make flashcards for. Okay, so trade packet A is the drilling unit reservists required to perform annually authorized IDT drills and not less than 12 ADT days per fiscal year. Okay, B, drill enlisted reservists awaiting second part of split IADT required to perform an average of 4 drills per month during interphase period. Okay, second phase of IADT satisfies annual training requirement for fiscal year. C is prior service enlisted members awaiting an indoctrination program, such as Depot or Class A school, who are authorized by Commander CGPSC RPM to perform IDT or RMPs. Okay, Trade Packet D, Coast Guard Reserve Flag Officers. Okay, again, Trade Packet D, Coast Guard Reserve Flag Officers. Make a note about that one. Selective Service System, or Emergency Preparedness Liaison Officers. Annually authorized IDT drills vary from 0 to 48. A minimum of 12 days per fiscal year are required to satisfy the annual training requirement. And F, enlisted reservists currently on IADT, including second part of split IADT. And M, reservists currently mobilized but expected to return to previous status upon demobilization. Okay, so I think that's a good example of Hurricane Florence. Probably all the reservists trade pad codes went to M. So that's a good example there. And once again, I'm going to highlight trade packet D. Okay, that's a really important one right there. Okay, so trade packet A. So this category is comprised of drilling reservists who participate in training activities on a part-time basis. Okay. Except as otherwise specifically provided, these reservists are required to participate in 90% of authorized scheduled drills or training periods and perform not less than 12 ADTs for annual training. Okay, trade pay cat D. This category is comprised of trained reservists assigned to specific PAL positions or positions outside the service that must be filled support mobilization, requirements, contingency operations, or other specialized or technical requirements. Okay, except as otherwise specifically provided, these reservists are required to participate in 90% of authorized scheduled drills or training periods and perform not less than 12 ADT days for annual training. Okay, M, this category includes CELRES involuntarily recalled for contingencies or disaster response, as well as medhold. Alright, and there's a few other ones. Trade packet E, reservists without access to drilling units who have some period of their military service obligation or other contractual obligation remaining, not required to drill, but may be required to perform ADT up to 30 days per fiscal year. Okay? H, reservists with no drill requirement to drill who may voluntarily participate in training or reservists prior to selection. And P, enlisted reservists awaiting IADT who are not authorized to perform IDT, but includes all non-prior service members and most prior service members. Alright, and there's just a couple more here. So these are for the standby reserves. Okay, there are 3 trade packets for standby reserves. There's G, designated key employees in the ASL and standby reserve, N, all other in the ASL, standby reserve, and I, ISL, standby reserve. Okay, so again, I will go ahead and in your notes or in your flashcards, just go ahead and make one for each of those categories and then just randomly review them and you should be good to go on that. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and take a look at different types of, let me see here. So there's different types of inactive duty. Okay, so IDT stands for inactive duty training. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we can add that to our acronym list. So in active duty, there is IDT, and then there is FHD for funeral honors duty. Okay, one thing I noticed, well, I thought there was a question about, was how much do reservists get paid for funeral honors duty, which was $50, but I did not see that in the manual anymore, so I don't know if that applies. Okay, so under inactive duty, there is regularly scheduled drills. Okay, you have your single IDT. We'll go over that here in a few minutes. And then you have your multiple IDT. Okay, you have your RMPs, your readiness management period. There's another acronym. And then you have additional training period, ATP. You have a single ATP and you have a multiple ATP. Okay, so an IDT drill. Okay, period scheduled for the performance of formal training, unit training, or augmentation training. So it has to be 4 hours minimum for pay, 2 hours minimum for retirement points only. Okay, IDT has to be 4 hours for pay, 2 hours minimum for retirement points only. Okay, so reservists can do IDTs throughout the fiscal year, and usually they say typically 4 drills per month. But they may be batched, subject to command approval and funds availability. Okay? Alright. Except as specifically provided by Commandant CG 131, the authorized number of paid IDT periods for a member of the CELRES is 48 drills per fiscal year, which makes sense. 4 drills, 12 months, 48 drills. Alright, let's move down here. Let's talk about single drill. Alex, you need to go back up to bed because it's right now. Okay, so a single IDT drill. Okay, a single IDT drill equals 1 period of IDT. Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, it has to be performed in 1 calendar day. Okay, it can be scheduled by the command for participation in change of command, parade, or other suitable ceremony except for FHD or funeral honors duty as a substitute for not more than 1 regularly scheduled IDT drill during any fiscal year. Okay, it shall be paid at a rate of 1/30th of the monthly basic pay of the pay grade held on the date of the drill is performed. Okay, that makes sense. Pay is based on the 30 days in a month, 1/30th, because it's a 1 day. That makes sense. Okay, and for the single IDT, it has to be 4 or more hours in duration. For paid IDT, like I said above, and not less than 2 hours for retirement points only. Okay, and you earn 1 retirement point. Okay. So for a multiple drill, so if that's if a single is 4 hours, 1 retirement point, multiple, just double it. So this equals 2 periods of IDT, and shall not exceed 2 IDT periods in any calendar day. Has to be performed in 1 calendar day. Okay, still 1 day though. And it's paid at a rate that is equivalent to 2 single IDT drills. Okay, it may accommodate different program codes for reporting purposes of duty. Okay, here it goes. Shall be 8 or more hours in duration for paid IDT. Okay, 8 or more hours. Okay, and not less than 4 hours for retirement points only. Okay, so 8 hours for pay, 4 hours for retirement points only. Okay, singles, 4 hours for pay, 2 hours for retirement points only. Okay, and you'll earn 2 retirement points. Okay, So one thing that I noticed that I've learned over the past weeks about IDT is definitely, and just for your knowledge, uh, is like, yeah, the members, they're drilling and everything, but from a SPO and auditor's perspective, when you approve the IDT drills, you're making sure that they're getting their correct meals. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go take a look at PPC. And I'll go ahead and show you the guide right here. Alright, so if you're looking where I'm at, I'm on the PPC site, Procedures and Development, and right here for the inactive duty for training, IDT substance allowance. Okay, if you go ahead and scroll down to the second page here, there's this chart, and you want to go ahead and keep this chart on handy, especially for any auditor that is approving their unit's IDT drills. Okay, so let's take a step back. So I believe the reasonable commuting distance is 50 miles. Okay, if they live 50 miles or less, then they are not authorized lodging. Okay, if they arrive and depart the same day, they are authorized only lunch. Okay, if a person does IDT, and whether it's 4 or 8 hours, or I'm sorry, let me step back. A single IDT is not authorized any meals. Okay, officers are not authorized any meals. Okay, that should state it up here. Okay, officers, in accordance with references B and C, officers are not entitled to IDT substance allowances. Okay, single IDT drills. Reserve members who perform a single IDT drill are not entitled to a government-provided meal or a substance allowance. Okay? So, multiple, they work past 1800. It has to show that they work past 1800. Then they are authorized lunch and supper. Okay, a person over 50 miles. Okay, if they arrive the night before a one paid IDT multiple drill for the next day, then they are authorized breakfast and lunch. Okay, if they arrive the day before a drill, if they arrive on the day of the first drill for 2 paid multiple IDT drills and remain overnight between drills. Okay, so they arrive on the first day, so they get lunch and supper on the first day, and then they'll get breakfast and lunch on the second day. Okay, and the member arrives the night before 2 paid IDT multiple drills, so authorized breakfast, lunch, and supper on the first day, because they arrived the day before, and authorized breakfast and lunch on the second day. Okay. Alright, so let me go ahead back here. Oh, that's not it. Alright, here we go. Alright, so ATP, additional training period. So it's periods of additional inactive duty authorized to provide cell res, sufficient time, in addition to a scheduled IDT drill, or an IDT and ADT, to qualify for competencies and meet training requirements for mobilization. Commandant CG 131 will determine the fiscal year allocation of ATPs based on the availability of funds and communicate the allocation to the field. The number of ATPs performed in a fiscal year by any member shall not exceed 36. Okay, ATPs shall be scheduled and approved in the same manner as IDT. Okay, after authorization and allocation by Commandant CG 131. Okay, I have not approved an ATP before. I have only seen IDTs come through. If there's anybody that has approved an ATP, go ahead and chime in if there's anything different. But I'm sure you would just have to still verify the the same information. Okay, so a single ATP drill type, so it's equal to 1 period of ATP. It's performed in 1 day. It's paid at a rate of 1/30th of the monthly basic pay of the pay grade held on the date of the drill. You earn 1 retirement point, and it may be combined with an IDT drill. Okay, it has to be 4 more hours in duration. All right, and a good point here. So travel time to and from the ATP location or training site, or time at the duty location that is allocated for the meal breaks, rest and relaxation, or sleeping does not count towards the 4-hour minimum training requirement. Okay, a multiple ATP drill type, okay, equals 2 periods of ATP. Shall be performed in 1 calendar day. You earn 2 retirement points, and again, travel time does not count towards the 8-hour minimum. Okay, RMP. RMP stands for Readiness Management Period. Okay, periods of additional inactive duty authorized in excess of scheduled IDT drills for Ready Reserve. Ready Reserve is CELRES or IRR, and its members to accomplish training preparation or unit administration and maintenance functions. RMPs may be performed for pay or without. So what they can use RMPs for, and again, this is a section that I would go ahead and take note of. I believe I've seen some questions similar to this section, asking if a member is authorized an RMP for this or for that. Okay. So RMPs can be used for PHAs. Okay, dental, reserve, service-wide, or and of course tests if that comes back. Unit all-hands training. Validations. Screenings directed by a Command Drug and Alcohol Representative, or CDAR. Medical appointments. And a few other things here. So just go ahead and just take a look. So this is we are in chapter 2 here of the Reserve Policy Manual. So I will just go ahead and just take a look at a few of this other information here regarding RMPs. We won't go through everything here, but RMPs without pay are authorized for the following. So members completing all required, all mandated online training while not on an inactive or active duty. So nutritionist visits, PHA for IR members who have been authorized to perform IDT for retirement points only, dental readiness examinations for IR members, PHA for the purpose of determining fitness, dental readiness examinations for the purpose of determining fitness for the transfer back to the CELRES from IRR, participation in the reserve service-wide or end of course test by members assigned to the IRR and ASL, and seminars, symposia, transition or retirement seminars. Let's go ahead and take a look at this, what they're not authorized for. Okay, the RMPs are not authorized for individual members monitoring unit level readiness compliance, training for qualifications to meet currency, recertification requirements, or to attend ceremonies such as change of command, chief's called an initiation, retirement, unless the member is part of the official party, an honoree, presiding official, master of ceremonies, etc., or unit augmentation. Okay, these are the requirements for an RMP. RMP requirements: only 1 RMP shall be performed in a calendar day. Okay, reservists are not required to complete authorized IDT periods prior to utilizing RMPs. Okay, RMP, it's equivalent to a single IDT drill for pay and 1 retirement point. Okay, must be a minimum of 3 hours in duration per period but not exceeding 24 hours in one calendar day. I think that's really important right there. Then must be 3 hours in duration per period, but not exceed 24 hours in one calendar day. Okay, it's not exclusive of travel to and from regular drilling site. Okay, if scheduled duties do not meet the minimum 3-hour duration, the unit must assign other appropriate tasks. Okay, it must be 3 hours regardless. Okay, except as authorized by this chapter, RMPs shall not be used for medical care and treatment authorized by the reserve incapacitation system. Okay, all RMPs must be approved before the duty is performed, which is the same as for all the drills. And then we come down here to funeral honors duty. And again, you can go ahead and just read this in the reserve policy manual. But again, one thing, like I said before, one thing I saw was that they'll be paid $50 for the drill for funeral honors duty, but I'm not seeing that in here anymore. So I don't think that really applies. Or if you do see it on the test, you might be able to challenge that. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let me just scroll through here. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at participation standards. What do reservists have to do to stay within compliance? Okay, I do believe participation standards is one of the pracs for I would have to go back and look, but I do believe it is one of your pracs to be signed off. Okay, so CELRES obligation. Okay, so complete IADT for a period of not less than 84 days in accordance with the reference A, unless the requirement is already fulfilled by prior military service. Okay, so complete an IAT for a period of not less than 84 days. So usually, I know reservists have to do their 2 weeks. Actually, let me step back. Let's forget that. Okay, so report in accordance with orders. Attend 90% of scheduled authorized IDT drills with pay per fiscal year. Okay, that's important. They have to attend 90% of their scheduled authorized IDT drills. Okay, excused absences are not calculated in meeting the member's fiscal year IDT drill requirement. Okay, you have to satisfy the ADT requirement of not less than 12 days, exclusive of travel time in accordance with reference C. Complete training required by enlistment contract or commissioning programs. You have to answer official correspondence. You have to complete your annual screening questionnaire. Okay. Promptly update direct access, Coast Guard electronic systems, global, and notify their SPO via chain of command of any changes to phone numbers, email addresses, mailing addresses, marital status, number of dependents, civilian education or employment or physical condition, or other factors that would immediately affect availability for inactive or active duty. Okay? Those right there are all self-service options, except for adding like a dependent. I mean, we have to make sure that the reservists know that they can go to direct access and update their email, their mailing address. We will update their marital status if they get married or divorced, number of dependents, and whatnot. Okay? You have to maintain individual medical readiness. Okay? They have to stay within green, within CGBI. Maintain compliance with weight and body fat standards. Okay? To be retained in active CELRES, or an active status, CELRES, IR, and ASL, a reserve commissioned officer must accrue a minimum of 50 retirement points in an anniversary year to remain in an active status. Okay, that's important. To be retained in an active status, CellRes, IR, and ASL, a reserve commission officer must accrue a minimum of 50 points, 50 retirement points. Okay? All members in the ready reserve, CellRes or IR, and ASL who are qualified for a non-regular retirement, except for having reached 60 years of age, or are eligible for early retirement, are required to attain 50 points for each anniversary year to remain in an active status. Okay? You have to maintain the required CBAG items. Okay? Annually verify their BEH, dependency, beneficiaries, SGLI, and emergency contacts in accordance. Okay? This to stay up to date. You know, we just went to this week with the online verification of SGLI. So again, reservists, that's another self-service option that they have. Okay, members that are single parents, dual member couples with dependents are primarily responsible for dependent family members shall annually validate they have adequate proper dependent care arrangements and maintain an accurate family care plan. Okay. And they have to complete the required mandated training courses in CG Portal. Alright, and then this just goes on, talks about IDT, AT. Let's see here. Talks about travel. So travel or change of residence. So travel or change of residence does not relieve reservists other statutory or contractual military service obligation, participation standards, or exempt them from mobilization. Okay, reservists who permanently change their residence or reside beyond the reasonable commuting distance, or RCD, of their assigned unit may request to be assigned a position closer to their new residence. Okay, I think we talked before that the reasonable commuting distance is, I believe it's 50 miles. Okay, so if at one point, so here's a good question to think about. If at one point a reservist lives 49 miles to their unit, and then they go ahead and move, and now that they're 80 miles from their unit, like, do they now get the lodging and the night and the get to come the night before their IDT drill and get their breakfast? You know, and that's just a good point to think that they just moved further away and now they get this extra entitlement. So, kind of a good question, kind of a good thought there, and I'll go ahead and maybe just post that question there in our page. Alright. And then let's go ahead and see here. So here's IR satisfactory participation. So it's kind of along the same things. They have to answer correspondence. They have to complete their annual screening questionnaire. Advise RPM of any changes. Meet training requirements. Members with 20 or more years of qualifying federal service towards a non-regular retirement are required to attain 50 reserve retirement points per anniversary year to remain in an active status. Okay, IR members are not required to conduct semi-annual weigh-ins or submit a personal fitness plan, CG 6049. IR members shall be required to demonstrate compliance with weight standards prior to reenlistment, promotion, advancement. Okay, and they have to actively participate in, so drill for points only. And IR and standby reserves, ASL and ISL members are not required to complete a PHA unless actively participating. So join for points only or pending CellRes assignment. So that's just a few good points of satisfactory participation. I would go ahead and review Chapter 4 of the Reserve Policy Manual and just go ahead and give it a good read for for studying. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at, let me just go thumb through here. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the reserve Good Conduct Medal. Actually, here, hold on 1 second. Let's take a look at the ASQ, or Annual Screening Questionnaire Guide. There's something I think I might want to point out. So here, let's take a look at this. Okay, so this is the Annual Screening Questionnaire ASQ Guide. Okay, so it says here, members are required to submit an ASQ between 1 August and 31 October each year. Okay, 1 August and 31 October each year. The questionnaire is designed to be done as often as the information or recall availability changes at any time of the year. Okay, and then so this guide goes ahead and tells you how to submit it. So there is a reserve administration tab, annual screening questionnaire, put your input in, and then right here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So the questionnaire tab will display, okay, read the annual questionnaire acknowledgement section and select the radio button in the members response section. Click the first responder description, click and select the appropriate radio button. Okay, right here, I think this is a good screenshot that everybody should take. And the only reason, and I'm not going to say much, I'm just going to kind of just circle it right here of what you might want to make a flashcard on. A few things that I have seen right here. Okay, remember the tabs. That's all I'm going to say on that subject. Alright, so moving on. So, and then it just kind of just gives you options on what you can select. Let me just see here. Alright, moving forward, you can click your occupation tab, or data. And then, so you just want to just fill out your occupation, fill it out. I'm just trying to see if there's something here that I'm looking for. Okay, it's not. Okay. I thought that I was looking for a chart that I guess that gives the maybe the first responder types, or it was when you don't have to fill out a ASQ. So I'll continue to go ahead and look for it, but this is a good guide just in case if you have to have any reservists that need to fill out an ASQ. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the reserve good. So first of all, RGCM, Reserve Good Conduct Medal. Okay, this medal is just like the Coast Guard Good Conduct Medal, but it's issued to reserve enlisted members who have been recommended by their commanding officers for proficiency in rating, sobriety, obedience, industry, courage, and neatness throughout each qualifying period of service. Okay, the required period of service is 3 consecutive years. Just like active duty, it's 3 consecutive years. Okay, credible service. The consecutive 3-year period of service applied towards a Coast Guard Reserve Good Conduct Medal and subsequent awards must be enlisted. Okay, service must have been accrued in the Coast Guard Reserve or on active duty in the Coast Guard. Okay, here's another important part. The Coast Guard Reserve Good Conduct Medal is issued to reserve enlisted members who earn at least 70 retirement points during each of the 3 consecutive anniversary years in the Coast Guard Reserve. Okay, let's read that again. The Coast Guard Reserve Good Conduct Medal is issued to reserve enlisted members who earn at least 70 retirement points during each of the three consecutive anniversary years in the Coast Guard Reserve. Okay, so if you're an admin unit and you're verifying that this Coast Guard Reserve member is eligible to earn a Reserve Good Conduct Medal, you have to go to their reserve point statement, or you can go to their reserve member balances in DA, and you have to make sure through the last three anniversary years that they earned at least 70 retirement points. Okay, the consecutive 3-year period is computed from the member's anniversary date. Okay, conduct and performance requirements are identified to the active duty policy. Okay, so reserve enlisted members serving on extended active duty EAD or active duty for operational support ADOS for periods of 3 continuous months or more, or who enlist or re-enlist in the active duty, may be eligible for either the Good Conduct Medal or Reserve Good Conduct Medal. Okay, but not both during the same time period. Okay, so award eligibility will be determined by the status in which the reservist performed the majority of the time. Okay, so here they give an example of that. Okay, for an example, a reservist who served 2 eligible years towards a Reserve Good Conduct Medal and then enters into a EAD contract must complete 1 additional year of active duty to earn a Reserve Good Conduct Medal. Okay, if anybody has any questions about that, go ahead and chime in. But long story short is that wherever the majority of the time was, that you're going to go ahead and get that Good Conduct Medal if you deserve it. So this person served 2 years. 2 years towards the Reserve Good Conduct Medal, then went active duty for 1 additional year. So that it was 2 years over 1, he got the reserve. Okay. A reservist who served 1 eligible year towards a Reserve Good Conduct Medal and then enters an EAD contract must complete 2 additional years of active duty to earn a Good Conduct Medal. Okay, so 2 years Good Conduct, 1 year Reserve Good Conduct. So he or she is eligible for the active duty or just the Good Conduct Medal. Okay. So active duty personnel who affiliate with the reserve within 3 months of their release from active duty may apply active duty time not previously credited towards a Good Conduct Medal. Let me step back. So active duty personnel who affiliate with the reserve within 3 months of their release from active duty may apply active duty time not previously credited towards a Good Conduct Medal towards the reserve requirement. Rounded down. Okay. They go ahead and give an example here. So an OS2 is released from active duty and immediately affiliates with the reserve. Okay, the member was awarded a Good Conduct Medal following 3 years of active duty. The member carries forward 1 year, 4 months, and 27 days credible active duty good conduct time towards the Reserve Good Conduct Medal. It says calculate the fraction of an active duty period. Calculate that fraction of an active duty year 40% as an equal fraction of the annual reserve 70-point requirement or 28 points. Okay, as a result, this member may apply 1 year towards their initial Reserve Good Conduct Medal plus 28 points towards the minimum point requirement during their first year of anniversary year. I'm going to go ahead and take another look at that example. That's a little bit confusing there. But if there's anybody that understands it, go ahead and chime in and make a post about it, and we'll go ahead and we can review it. Let's see here, and so that's all that is for the Reserve Good Conduct Medal. All right. Um, so what I think what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull the documents from these computations. I'll go ahead and I'll post them within our group. And probably next week, because I know the November service-wide is coming up here, and probably doing a couple computations is a good idea for a refresher. So we'll go ahead and take a look at computations next week. Bring your pencil and paper, and we'll go ahead and go through a few through of them. So, does anybody have any questions? All right. If there's nobody that has any questions, I will go ahead and I will see you next Tuesday, and I'll see you also. Actually, here, real quickly, if there's nobody that's already joined the Yeoman Facebook group, make sure you go ahead and join it so that you get all the information, and go ahead and pass along to anybody that has not joined yet to join. And the more participation, the more benefit you will get from this. So, thanks for everyone for coming out tonight, and I will see you next week.